panelists are. So our first panelist for Nonprofit Leaders Funding Success Stories panel is Imade Borha. She's the founder of Depressed While Black, and all of your participants have 501c3 organizations. So Imade is a writer and mental health advocate who founded Depressed While Black. She's a suicide attempt survivor who lives with clinical depression and borderline personality disorder, which I say are diagnoses and certainly not the fullness of who she is and what she brings to our local community. Imade first developed Depressed While Black as her 2015 Columbia University nonfiction creative writing Master of Fine Art thesis. Depressed While Black has grown into an online community, an in-progress book, and a 501c3 nonprofit that donates Black affirming personal care items to psychiatric patients and connects people to Black therapists. And she just really announced a great big thing yesterday. So I'll let her talk about that today. So welcome, Imade. Our second panelist is Alesha L. Briggs. She's the president of Giving Youth Opportunities. And Alesha is a community activist in Inglewood, California. It's 3 hours, it's what is it, 7:13 there now. She's joining us this morning. And she's the founder of Giving Youth Opportunities. She specializes in youth resource development for inner city families. She does this by combining her community organizing skills and mentor experience to help create opportunities for youth. Resources and guidance are key to improving how youth receive the necessary tools to succeed. Through her initiative, she has become a model for organizations in the community by providing community events, resources, and educational workshops. Alesha believes in uplifting youth through social relationships. Her mission is to provide guidance to develop resources that help young youth discover their life purpose and manifest their dreams. So welcome, Alesha. And last but not least, we have Minister Cedric Parker joining us today. He is the founder and executive director of Adventist Community Restoration Center, and he's located in Greensboro, North Carolina. And the mission of ACRC is to restore fractured lives, rebuild broken communities, and renew hope for a better tomorrow. His formal training and certifications in metropolitan ministry, executive leadership academy, and urban studies have equipped him to serve as a liaison to the community and faith-based organizations. His life's passion is to see communities, neighborhoods, and cities transformed into thriving places of hope and opportunity for those who are often underserved. He has been honored to be a guest lecturer at UNC Greensboro and Elon University to share presentations in regard to faith-based community development and public health. Minister Parker also serves as a volunteer police chaplain and sits on several nonprofit boards. So welcome, everybody. It's so great to have you here. And so listen, in the chat, and I see it's lit up. Awesome. Thank everybody for putting their information in. Yeah, put your LinkedIn profiles in there. This is a great place to get connected. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I am excited to bring you all too, because honestly, I see you all, and I work with a lot of people, but I see you all as really being like the best and the brightest of our community. And I'm mindful that oftentimes there's this mistaken thought that young people are not making their contribution, or young people are not pulling their weight, and millennials, and so it's kind of this way of categorizing people. But I'm happy to say that I know that's not the truth. And so I have closer relationships with two of you. And Alesha and I actually met on Instagram. So this is the power, everybody, of social media and being in that tech space, because the work she was doing just came up on my feed one day. And I was like, wow, I want to keep up with her and see what she's doing in California. So I'm happy to have you all through here. And I'm going to start out by kind of asking you, I guess, to maybe share your stories of how you even got to the place of founding your nonprofit, because I think it's always powerful to hear people's story and have them share it in their own way. So I'm just gonna, y'all can open your mics up And whoever wants to go first, just jump right on in. I'm not gonna put anybody on the spot.
So, hi everyone. Good morning.
Good morning.
I might like Dr. Ado said, my name is Alesha, and I am the founder and president of Giving Youth Opportunities. My backstory really, it all started in grad school. So I really just wanted to see how I could make an impact. I'm studying sociology. I already am a part of the community with my church. I want to do something impactful. So I just started talking to, the youth at the church, starting to see what they need. And it was really a lack of just having activities, workshops, and events in the community for them. They really wanted to just have something to do. And I felt like, you know what, let's just start. So I started, I didn't have a 501c3, I didn't have paperwork. I just started doing the work. I was
That's
like,
right.
yeah, let's get together, let's organize and plan some events, and let's just get it going. And it really turned out to be something that blew my mind. I didn't know the feedback I would get from parents, from the youth, and them saying, Miss Alesha, when's the next event, or when we're going to do this? And it just really inspired me to really dive in. So I started to do my homework. I'm a person that grew up in Los Angeles, California. I didn't have volunteer experience. My mom was a single mom. So I didn't know nothing about the nonprofit spectrum. I really didn't. And a lot of people around me, I noticed, couldn't help me as well because they didn't know. So I think that just doing the research, seeing exactly how a nonprofit is formed, and doing just the necessary steps to get to where we want it to be, I just had to go for it. And I did. And I'm so happy because we have been able to now for 5 years do annual events. We've been able to help youth with resources from transitioning out of high school into the career of their choice. We've been able to do educational workshops like financial literacy, and those things have really been impactful, and it's just been amazing. And so we still are growing, developing, but that really was the start. I just saw that, what, they need me, and I just kept going. And so that's why I'm here still today, because I feel like they still need me and I
Yeah,
want to still do the work. And so it was really awesome, actually.
awesome. And how old is GYO?
GYO is 5 years old.
5 years old. Okay, great.
As
All
of
right,
this
thank
year.
you. Thank you for sharing. I
Of
appreciate
course.
that.
No
All right,
problem.
who else wants to jump in?
I guess I'll share.
Okay.
I started receiving a consultation from Dr. Addo around, I would say, 2020, like right before the pandemic hit. And I was already in the mix doing things like Alicia, and, found out that I was, basically doing illegal activity. And I was asking for donations so that I can buy personal care items for psychiatric patients. I was buying hair oil and satin bonnets and wave caps and things that psychiatric hospitals don't provide specifically for Black patients. And I was notified that I kind of need to switch things up and get a nonprofit 501c3 status. And that journey has been really amazing to me, and has opened my world to resources that I didn't even know were out there. Because you have a 501c3 status, you're able to partner with other organizations. And I was able to partner with Darkness Rising. The executive director is Carlita. And we spoke yesterday about our work together in creating a program called Rebuild. It is a program that we are starting early next year, where we're going to help folks who are formerly incarcerated find therapists of color. And we're also going to pay for therapy sessions for some folks, up to 10 therapy sessions. And so it's just been amazing to kind of have this opportunity. And that partnership is not just with Carlita for Darkness Rising, it's with Miriam Kaba, an amazing abolitionist and educator, as well as Yolo Akili, who is the founder of Being. And it does speak to the power of having just an amazing board member that knows everything, because Yolo is my board member. And YOLO basically was like, Miriam has this idea to help folks who are, released from incarceration find therapists. She wants to know who else in the space does this work of connecting people to therapists. And because YOLO was on my board and knew what the work that I'm doing, he was able to bring Miriam on board. So it just speaks to the power of basically communicating your values and communicating your work. And that's something that I learned from Dr. Otto. So I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, we're happy to hear you. And it's a common story that I hear from startup people, because we basically have done startup. That's been the basic focus of our work the last 5 years. And it generally does start with a passion, a personal passion that you're already volunteering. So Imade, you were volunteering, and then we helped you build the nonprofit. But it starts there, and it tends to, it's a constant story that I hear of, there's something going on in my community. It's really, my heart is heavy about it. I just feel like I need to do something. And my mom said to me that, listen, if you're the one that keeps saying somebody needs to do something, it's probably you that's supposed to be the one doing something. So, it's fun to be able to encourage people with the passion they already have and just build around it to help you have greater impact. So it's been my pleasure to serve you. All right, good Minister Elder Cedric Parker, tell us about ACRC, sir, and your journey.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Cedric Parker, founder and executive director of Adventist Community Restoration Center. And as Dr. Doe mentioned, definitely the passion came, but pain came before passion. And so I lost a good friend of mine in 1999 due to gun violence. Started a really difficult journey, and in doing so, had that transformational experience and giving my life to Christ, and then going into ministry. What I found out was a lot of times we end up just focusing on the spiritual needs of individuals. But when I look at my community, I see so many other needs. I see needs for mentoring. I see needs for food insecurity, housing, and things of that nature. And so really wanted to bring that to the forefront. Along that journey, I got stuck. It took me probably 3 or 4 years of, like Alesha was saying, doing some research and doing things and getting to a point where I just hit a road or obstacle. And by, I believe, divine intervention, I was on Facebook looking and scrolling, as many of us do sometimes. And I came across a flyer advertising nonprofit startup. And that day, I was really in a space kind of in between a rock and a hard place. I heard a voice say, "You need to go to this meeting." I told my wife, and she said, "You going tonight?" I said, yes, babe, I'm going tonight. And that has been, I think, one of the best decisions I've ever made. Dr. Doe and her team in STC Consulting, they really practice what they preach in terms of bringing your nonprofit dream to life. We started, hitting the ground running, focusing on health and wellness, our food insecurity program. We were able, during the pandemic, to serve over thousands of meals to families and communities. We also help provide some employment opportunities by partnering with the local workforce development group here in Guilford County, as well as countless other endeavors. But it all started with going to that consultation, going to that presentation with Dr. Doe at STC Consulting. And I think that that's what really catapulted us to be able to do the work that we do today. So I'm super excited to be here, and can't wait to learn more.
Yeah. Oh, well, look, you're teaching today. I'm just facilitating. But y'all are wrecking me over here already. Got my tissue. I can already feel it coming, because my heart is just full. And it's really, I think it's just exemplifying what it means when you just give of yourself and help other people meet their dreams. A lot of times people are kind of really just focused on meeting their own. And I see that in the three of you. It's always been something bigger than you. You know, whatever happened to you or however you got started may have been the catalyst, but what keeps you going is it has to be something bigger than you. And there has to be this level of commitment that we're going to do it, you know, regardless, whatever may happen, we're going to figure out, we're going to get this done. So I want to talk to you and thank you for sharing and being so candid and open with your stories. So now I kind of want to really talk about like the specifics, because I think it really helps for people. You know, fundraising and finding funds to support your programs can be very mystical. It's kind of like, you know, nobody really teaches you how to do it, but you know you need to do it. And oftentimes in the early stages of your nonprofit, you're really putting your own money in and your own money in. So, but once you get that 501c3, I always say this, that is the key that unlocks the door to the resources that you need. So I'd like for each one of you just talk about your own programs and services for your nonprofit and how you've made decisions, how do you fund them, and how have you made those decisions? Cedric, I'll start with you.
Excellent question. So again, I think it's a multitude of ways that we kind of go about it. At the beginning, a lot of just peer-to-peer kind of fundraising, going to individuals, telling our story, letting them know that this is what our mission is, what we're trying to do. But I think as time went on, we realized and really understood the power of digital fundraising. So like social media is your friend. You're able to reach, you know, thousands of people that I think, you know, in the past you would not have had access to. And so one of the things that we found that really worked for us is for Facebook, they have this feature called Birthday Fundraiser. And at first we started to do it. You know, we would get, you know, small donations here and there. And last year, we reached out to an individual who had a birthday coming up. She's really passionate about the community, and she says she's not a fundraiser, but I beg to differ. She got on this birthday fundraiser, and we started with a goal, I think, of $1,000, and by the end, she was upwards of $4,000, and probably could have went further. She just, you know, stopped at that point and said, "Listen, this is what I wanted to do, is just bring awareness to this organization, the work that you're doing in the community." And I thought that that was really a powerful just example of how you can use social media to reach an audience that I personally would have never been able to reach had it not been for her, but her using her platform to be able to do so. Also, grants. We were fortunate enough and blessed enough to receive a grant last year because of our food insecurity work. And again, telling the story, partnership, being able to have multiple partners, not only here in Greensboro, but also Rockingham County and others that were able to do this work and then be able to tell that story. And so what was really cool, after we received the funding, we were able to do even more. So we started off doing, you know, a couple hundred meals. We received the funding. Now we could add additional meals, hot meals that were going out to families who were living in hotels. We thought, you know, that was a need that was not being reached. And so as we continue to receive these funds through this grant, we were able to expand those programs and services. So digital fundraising, grants, and then peer-to-peer is probably our best kind of methods of fundraising at this point.
Okay, great. And if you'll check your link, Julius is helping us out here. He's actually put an article in there about explaining what peer-to-peer fundraising is. And I know he's a big proponent. If you were in his class yesterday, or even when you heard us talking, he probably mentioned it 1 or 2 times, because it's a very powerful way to get connected. Thanks for sharing that. Imade, talk to us about your programming, your funding, and kind of how you make those decisions.
Yeah, so our rebuild program that we're hoping to launch early next year, we've been able to raise over $125,000 in about 2 weeks. It is absolutely amazing. And I think it speaks to knowing what you can do, knowing what you can't do. I don't have those type of connections. So we, Miriam Kaba, who goes by Prison Culture on Twitter, I mean, this is what she does. Fundraising is just what she always does. And I saw her online raising hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I know that it's through her work that she's been doing for decades, and just the respect and the credibility that she has in that field. And so we basically fundraise before we fundraise. We created a proposal and we sent it to some of the donors that Miriam identified as being willing to give some really big amounts, like $30,000 and $20,000. So we made sure to talk with them first, and kind of like what you're kind of saying, like build that relationship with them first and kind of give them a sneak peek on what we're working on, so that they are a part of the process as well of helping us get this project off the ground. And then when we did the Mighty Cause, we put the fundraiser on Mighty Cause. And we had some donors that were willing to match donations, and so that took off as well. And then, basically utilizing Miriam Kaba's social platform. She has like over, I think, maybe 100,000 followers, and she's on private on Twitter. So that just speaks to just the type of reach that she has, even being on private. And so, yeah, we pushed that out on social media. But we also relied on the work that we've already done. So I created the Help Me Find a Therapist program in the summer of 2020 in reaction to the pandemic, but also the police brutality and the protests with George Floyd. And I just felt like with all the things that Black folks are going through, there's going to be this huge influx of Black folks looking for therapists for the first time. And I don't want them to have some of the bad experiences that I had, because if sometimes when it comes to interacting with mental health, the mental health system, your first impression can be the reason you continue therapy, but it also be the reason you drop therapy and never come back. And so I didn't want to have those roadblocks happen. And so basically, it helped me find a therapist program. I just created a quick Google form, and you fill out the Google form telling us the type of Black therapist you want, and we send you back up to 3 Black therapist options with contact information so that you can reach out to them directly. There's a whole bunch of databases that are out there. And so basically, we wanted to do the work for them, because when you're in crisis, you don't have the energy to look for a Black therapist. So we've helped over 200 people by searching manually for Black therapists. So we just try to say, hey, we've already doing the work. So when you're giving money to something that we're already doing. It's not something that we just thought of. We've already been doing the work, and kind of like my panelists here. So it's very easy. It's much easier to give money to something that's already happening.
Yeah, and that's so important to know. And, technology, once again, has really been a game changer, I think, in the nonprofit industry, about really giving us expansion into what it can help us do and minimize our costs. So it's just been awesome. Alesha, talk to us.
Yes. So as I mentioned earlier, so we actually started inside of the church. So I literally just started, I told the pastor, pass the collection plate around for GYO. We want to give more events, and we want to do things for the youth in the church. And so literally it just started from asking the church members, asking people around me, family, friends, can you guys support me? And like you said as well, a lot of the things that you start to do, it comes from your own passion. So you put your own money. And so I had to learn. It took some time. Yeah, it took some time, and I learned, like, okay, you know what? I need a 501c3. I need to be able to, be to connect with, corporations, businesses, seek grants. And so really, and we spoke on this yesterday, the importance of relationships. And I really felt like, that's where a lot of my success came from. And I literally started, once I got the 501c3, just doing cold calling. I'm calling everyone. hi, can I speak to the person in charge of charitable donations? We're doing this work. We need help. We need support. And it led me to a lady named Nancy. She's with Marshalls. And when I called her, she was like, what, we're looking for someone to donate. And I was like, and we're looking for donations. So it just, became a relationship that actually developed from there. And we were receiving inclined donations from them for some of our events and the workshops that we were doing. And just building that relationship, sending her the newsletter, showing her spotlighting, their contribution, giving them thank you cards and everything like that. It really developed the relationship with her. And the thing is that they had her corporation had an opportunity to nominate a nonprofit for a grant. And then when that came to her, she said, you're the first person came to my mind, Alesha. Wow. Yes. So she nominated me for the grant. I moved forward and did everything that we needed to do, and we received it. And so, we received a $5,000 grant through the Marshalls Corporation, but it was based on the relationship I built with her. We stayed connected. We made sure that they knew the outcome of the event, what they were contributing to. And so I think that really has been like just my foundation for how I try to go about receiving funding. And since then, like Cedric mentioned as well, we took advantage of the Facebook birthdays. We also do monthly donations through DonorBox. And so, like just asking family and friends, can you donate $5 a month, $20 a month, just whatever, would be, but it helps a lot, just with different things that we need to make sure that is funding. So I think the relationship building, though, is definitely something that really helped me with just making connections and getting funding. And that's just one of the stories, but it really showed me that I have to just make sure that I ask, I speak up, you let people know what you're doing, and they really want to help. It's a lot of people that really want to help. And so I think that that's something that really I can suggest for anyone, is just go for it and build those relationships, talk to people.
And you can't get discouraged with the no's.
Yes.
So it's the no sometimes is an opportunity to kind of fine tune the ask, if in case there's, there's, my mind is like, I'm always learning. There's always something to be learned. You tapped into something too, Alesha, because, a lot of times as nonprofit leaders, we chase the dollars.
Yes.
And we chase the big money, but the small money adds up too.
It does. It does. It does.
So, getting small money consistently really adds up. And I'm listening to you all share and thinking about, just going back and looking historically at the African-American community. This is how we built. This is how we grew. The base was the church, and everybody was pooling their resources to make sure that people got buried, orphans were taken care of, widows were taken care of, insurance policies were purchased, things like that were going to help people protect their families and strengthen the community. And it's exciting to hear that a simple principle repeated now with technology and creativity and innovation. And, it's just amazing to hear you all share. I wanted to ask too, how do you determine where to put your money? And on this question, I'm going to actually bring in Samantha Dillingham. Samantha is, of course, our finance person. She's our accountant, but she also is a peer of yours. She is an executive director of Kingdom Kindness Ministries. And so, Sam, I'll start with you to tell us a little bit about Kingdom Kindness and to really talk about the strategy behind when you get the money, how do you figure out, where it's supposed to go?
Good morning, everyone. Good seeing you again.
Good morning.
I am just so in awe of what you are doing, Cedric and Imade and Alesha. Just really touches my heart, because as a nonprofit founder, I am right there with you. And even if I work with you, I am also experiencing some of the same things you are. So To the question, well, first of all, Kingdom Kindness was founded because of my passion for the Caribbean, and it's where I'm from, St. Lucia. But it was for the entire region of the Caribbean to provide aid and resources to the underserved communities. And with the aid and resources we provide, we would like to give them hope for a better future by empowering them to determine their own success and not be dependent on the government or other relatives to do that. So with the empowerment, we hope to build better communities, stronger communities, and more sustainable communities. So the impact and the outreach is huge. And I envision it by faith. I got my vision from a very, very young age as a child. And I've been in different forms of ministry from an early age. And this is now another step for me, being a founder and executive director of Kingdom Kindness. But the vision is huge, and by faith, we will achieve the vision. But the mission right now is to provide that aid and resource and start from that point. Financially, just like you, we struggled at the beginning. Being the detailed person that I am, it took us 2 years to actually just get our governance ready, our bylaws and training. And we're a 3-board team, but we do have 2 strong committee members. One is marketing and one is fundraising. And so with those, everybody doesn't have to be a board member. You get volunteers who are willing to be on your committee, take that because they bring a specialty to the core of the 3 or 5 member team that you have. And I'm sure Imade and Alesha and Cedric, but all of you have those supporters that help you achieve things. And I couldn't have done it without them. So once we received the money, for instance, our first big one was 2020 COVID related Haiti program, support for Haiti. We do have a community in Haiti. It's just a small section on the northwestern side of Haiti called Port-de-Paix that we have someone there who started an elementary school, and he graduated from the same Bible college I did. And the fundraiser, who is both his teacher and my teacher from school, is the one who connected me to him. And in seeing the need that he had with no finance, he had no money. And so we thought, how is this going to happen? So we started with that project. And even before we could get to the beginning of supporting the school, COVID hit and they needed funds for COVID. And so the pair fundraising, not me, because social media and all of the marketing is not my strength, but with our support team, committee member, she did pair raising. And within a week, we had $1,200 to send him to feed about 60 families. And it just happened so quickly, it was shocking to even myself, but this is just a really great tool. But really this year, when you get the money, determining how you're going to use the money, we have an example of that this year. So one of the fundraising successes we've had, or it's a support from another nonprofit, which is a church, and they are supporting the Haiti elementary school and have funded $9,000 for that project so far. There will be more. But how do we use the funds? So once we receive that money, the first thing I had to do is create a budget. And I had to spell it out, how we're going to use that money. We have 9 months of school. We still have more time to fundraise, but while we have that money for the school, the budget for the year is $15,000. And they would like us to also do some repairs and maintenance to the buildings that they're using. As you can imagine, in Haiti, it's really not that great of a quality of a space, but we're trying to make it comfortable for the students, the teachers, those who are at the school administrating. And so once we received the money, the first thing I had to do is do a program budget. And in doing that program budget, I laid out what they've already supplied in funds and how we're going to use it for repairs, maintenance, and program payroll for the teachers. There are now 4 grades from kindergarten to 3rd grade. So just working it out. I mean, they're growing year by year. So they're in that stage of having a 4th grade. And so that's what you do with the money. You budget and you plan, and we don't send a lump sum. We wire it out every month for the exact budget amount. As the budget changes, the administrator will let me know what's needed. And we continue to fundraise for them. So as we get the funds, we do have a goal, but once new items come in, then we fit that into the budget. So that's how you keep up with it. It's a steady, slow pace, one program at a time. And especially if it's a 25,000, 10,000, if it's not just $1,000, something bigger, you really do need to spend the time and break that out into a budget and a program plan.
Okay, great. And Sam, if there's a tool that you can think of, if you could put it in the chat, that might be helpful with folks knowing how to budget or that kind of thing, that would be really, really helpful. Thank you so much for sharing. I kind of put her on the spot today, but but she's a wealth of knowledge. So let's see, what else can we talk about today? Because you all are just doing so many phenomenal kinds of things. Well, I tell you what, maybe this is a good time. Are there any questions from our attendees that you have that you might want to ask any of them? If you would, just go ahead and start putting that in the chat. Grant making, or as I say, there are a lot of different ways to fundraise. So getting grants actually happens to be nationally a very small percentage of how most nonprofits, even large ones, really get the money. There are other kinds of things which you all have illustrated so well with peer-to-peer fundraising and donations. And I wanted to just say briefly too about, in-kind donations. There's value in people giving you the items that are needed, even if they're not giving you the money that's needed. And some folks don't realize that this is what the 501c3 does for you, is that it opens up the door to ask for either or both, just depending on, your programs and services. Well, let's talk a little bit and kind of maybe back up to COVID and kind of when that hit last year. Thank you, Sam. And kind of what was the process? How did you all weather COVID and actually keep your doors open? And how did it impact your fundraising last year? Did you have to make any pivots? Were you able to kind of, that's what I think it would be helpful to know. So Cedric, we'll start with you.
Great question again. I think with COVID, it actually really kind of, because of everything that happened, and it caught the nation, the globe, off guard. We were able to pivot, but I think because of the work that we were doing in terms of just the basics, when it comes to food insecurity and the basic needs, it gave us a great opportunity to really continue to do the work and kind of amplify it. So here in Greensboro, probably it's been almost 7 years ago, we were ranked #1 in food insecurity for a community its size. And so it's really kind of just jumps out at you, because you think of other places, in the United States. Greensboro High Point was ranked #1 in food insecurity. And so we knew that coming into COVID, that was going to be a great need. So we jumped into partnership with Second Harvest Food Bank. They were able to help kind of provide some in-kind donations when it came to the food. And so we just became the hub to be able to kind of distribute. And with that partnership, that opened the door, as we talked about earlier, to be able to apply for a grant because of the work that we were doing. So again, one of the things I would definitely say, just to add to your question, don't be afraid to partner, and don't be afraid. I know at some point you have to maybe establish, a MOU, a memorandum of understanding,
right.
once it starts to get, funds and things like that. But sometimes you don't have to be all the way there. You could start that relationship and kind of build on it until it gets there. So one of the things that it allowed us to do now is to partner with a local organization called the Diaper Bank of North Carolina. They saw the work that we were doing with the food insecurity, And the same families who struggle with food insecurity also struggle with what's called the diaper gap. So food stamps, WIC, and all those social programs don't cover items like diapers and baby wipes and things of that nature. So that's a huge need. So with that partnership, we were able now to partner with the diaper bank, and I believe they were just awarded a grant, and they wrote us into the grant so that we're able to serve our community with those needed items as well. So
That's awesome. And what he's not saying that I hope he will say is to just talk about, well, I'll save that because we have a couple of you all that actually have, and all three of you really have created networks. And I want you to talk about that too, but we're going to stick with this one. Imade, talk to us about 2020 and the pandemic.
Yeah, I'm actually so inspired by my panelists, my fellow panelists, and Cedric's story is just amazing. Yeah, so I mean, it affected our consultation because we had to meet online from the office to online. And then for me, when it came to delivering the personal care items, I couldn't go inside the hospital anymore. I kind of had to drop it off outside. And what I was learning was that a lot of the patients, they weren't allowed to have visitors. Which means that visitors are oftentimes the main way Black patients, Black folks get the care items that we need. And then I also was thinking, if folks are losing their jobs, how are they having the money to give care items to their patients? And so with COVID happening, it felt like for me, a little easier to raise money because you didn't have to explain the need. People automatically knew, of course, people need things, let me give you money. So it did make fundraising in some ways a little bit easier. But the COVID it just hit patients hard. For one of the hospitals that I supported, there was a COVID outbreak in the hospital. Ooh. And I was personally asked to give coloring books because basically patients are in their rooms all day quarantining and they can't do group activities. So it was absolutely impacting what happens in the hospital and what things they were asking for. And then you had folks also who just wanted underwear. So what's happening a lot of times is folks have nothing. They're unhoused. They don't have a place to live entering the hospital. And then they leave the hospital, they don't have a place to go. And so they need everything. They need underwear, they need bras, they need a lot of undergarments that are not typically donated to hospitals. And because of my experience of being in a hospital and not having those undergarments myself and having to rely on lost and found, I knew exactly why that's needed and how important that is to really feel safe in your body by the clothes that you wear. And then a new thing that's happening, and I mean, this is hot off the streets. A new thing that's happening is that, and I don't want to get political with this, but nurses are quitting their jobs because they don't want to get vaccinated, right? Okay. And so how that affects patients, nurses are typically the ones that run the programming in these hospitals. They run the group therapy, they deliver the medications. And so if you're having this nursing shortage, patients are not getting the support that they need. And so they may rely on, my donations, the coloring books, the word search puzzles, these things in magazines and books that they're asking for me to donate because they may not have much programming time. So COVID has hit, psychiatric hospitals really hard. And I definitely just wanted to step up and meet that need.
That's great. And I think it speaks to also being sensitive about what the needs are. And I talked yesterday about how, when you're a smaller nonprofit, you can pivot really easily. You don't have to convene 15 people to make a decision about something. You can email or text your other board members and say, this is a need, let's just shift some money, and boom, you're right in a position to be able to step in and really, really serve your constituents, the community that you're serving. Alesha, you want to jump in on this one? And then we do have a question in the chat. So when you're done, we'll go there and we'll talk to Kamal.
Okay, awesome. So yes, like you said, during COVID, we really had to just think about how we're going to move forward. And so we did pivot and go online. So we had a lot of our workshops and events started to take place via Zoom. And that platform was really helpful because we were able to still connect with our youth and do some of the things that we do on an annual basis. However, it were certain things that I seen that were priority for some of the parents, and it wasn't really attending our events or kind of just being a part of the things that they usually would be a part of. So it kind of sparked for us Resource Friday, and you may know about that, Dr. Adele. And Resource Friday at GYO is really just what it says. Like, we provide resources from anything from food giveaways to free small checks. It was just those type of things, though, that I noticed were really impacting and helping our families because, at that time, people were worried about food. We had rental assistance resources as well, and housing. A lot of people were dealing with housing crisis and job loss. So we gave, sent out information about job opportunities. And I didn't know that Resource Friday was going to be so big, but I started getting so much feedback. Like, oh, I went here and they fixed my car for free. And I'm able to, go to work now and I don't have to worry about that expense. Alesha, thank you so much. And so we really just wanted to keep it going. And that really, really made me feel like, okay, you know what? This is the part where you have to be innovative. You have to be open to change and really just shift to the needs of your audience, your families. And that's really what we did. And then even from there to the power of incline donations, we were able to start getting certain things. Like I said, based on relationships that I built previously before COVID as well, they weren't trying to more so give, funding or money because of the things that they were going through as companies, but they were also, but they were open to give me products or gift cards, and that type of stuff really also helped. So it's just during something like that, the pandemic and everything, you really want to just see where the need is. And that's kind of what we did. We did a reevaluation and we wanted to just focus on what would be most impactful. And I think that really helped us a lot. And so that's kind of where we were able to still be successful and keep going. And it helped build relationship and trust too with some of the community members, because they saw like, oh, you guys are actually giving this and doing these things. I want to help as well. So that really was powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, that is awesome. Well, look, we've got a question in the chat, and thank you for that. We have a question from Kamal. He says, I'm part of a board with older in age and time served members. I'm new to the board, but I believe we can be more impactful, raise more money, and do bigger programming than the one major event we do yearly. What's the best way to encourage others on the board to buy in to doing more when they're comfortable with what's happening? And you all have relatively young boards, but still, I think you probably have some ideas maybe or strategies, because, actually, sometimes I think what straps boards is thinking that we can't plan big unless we have money. And so, what I'm hearing you say is, no, we have a plan, we have faith, and we're just going to do it. But every board doesn't operate that way. So any thoughts about that? I think, Imade, you mentioned something I thought was really powerful, in that you found somebody in the community who was established, older, and who wanted to partner with you. And and they gave it that where they could. And so that worked for you. So, so I'm trying to think too. Anybody, you have any thoughts about that?
I would say definitely bring your ideas to the table. Pitch and see what exactly, what their feedback would be. So we always kind of just do a brainstorming type of thing on our board where, I'm throwing out ideas, they're throwing out ideas, and then we kind of see what's best for that time. And that's something that I think that works for us. But I know that in this situation, if they're used to operating, and doing the same thing, just like try to just go for it. I don't know. That's kind of a situation where it's kind of hard to say what the feedback would be, but definitely just, shoot your shot. That type of situation.
Mhm. Okay, great. Cedric, you got a thought about that? Okay.
Yes, I definitely think in those situations, obviously it's a challenge. But again, just kind of knowing that it's probably going to take a little time, so definitely be patient. But utilizing the resource of the subcommittees, and sometimes, as a collective board, you have that kind of culture that's been established. So if you can if there is a subcommittee, or maybe suggesting that a subcommittee be created to be able to find those who may have similar thoughts that you do in terms of trying to do some more innovative and more imaginative types of things. So I think in doing that, you kind of get that momentum going and you gain some support. So then when you do have that conversation with a larger board, you probably will have a little bit more buy-in because you were able to establish and build those relationships, kind of behind the scenes. So definitely think that's part of it. And then also people love success. And so if you have an idea and you're able to do something, a lot of times folks will get on board after they see, well, they're going to sit back and wait and see how this is going to work. And if you're successful at it and it's a hit, most of the times people get on board that way as well. So those are just my thoughts.
Okay, great.
And I think I'll just add, I think maybe possibly doing like a needs assessment or some sort, or talking to folks who are most impacted and ask what they need. Because a lot of times it doesn't require like this one big event. It could be little things like for me, I keep hearing from the nurse that I work with and donate items to at her hospital that like chapstick is like life-changing. Like the patients feel more human when they have chapstick. And it's just something that is so small. It costs $1 at Dollar Tree. It doesn't take a lot of money. You can do it out of pocket if necessary. And so doing a needs assessment and reaching out to the people that are in the community can sometimes let you know that some of the big things and extravagant things that you think you have to do, you may not have to do those things.
And that is so key. Those are all really, really insightful because, sometimes, especially if there's an older organization that's kind of used to doing things a certain kind of way, the shift really becomes more about the comfort of the board members as opposed to really be in touch with what the needs of the community are. And as a younger, newer, fresher board member coming on, this can be kind of like the new life you can bring to them because the mission is what's really supposed to drive the organization. So reminding them and asking the question, are we meeting our mission? Could we do more? And then following it up with a needs assessment of some kind, which actually can be done. Ooh, you can use technology to do that too, to gather your information. And it may start, the strategy may be to start a team or committee that just does that. Let's assess how well the one thing we're doing is impacting people and the needs. And then I think that kind of helps to open the door about what else can we do. And now everybody's seeing the same thing because a lot of times they're not. They see it from their perspective and what they're used to, which is great. So Kamal, I hope that helped you. Let's see if there are any other questions there. We have some great links and information that's jumping in the chat. So cut and paste, folks, and hold on to these links. Of course, you'll get them afterwards, but there may be some things there now that can help you. Okay, we're rolling right along here. I'd like to ask you, of all of the projects or programs and services that your nonprofit provides, what do you think has been the most impactful and why? We'll do round robin, but I'm gonna come back to you,
Okay.
Cedric. Oh, your Alicia's ready. Okay, come on, Alicia.
So I feel that our educational workshops have been really impactful. We've done financial literacy for our youth, teaching them about saving, investing, and just overall financial wellness. And that has been really good just for some of our teenagers who are starting to work, also some transitioning out of high school. That was really, great to have that and get the feedback from them. And then also we had a gardening workshop, and the gardening workshop was for teaching the youth how to grow their own foods and teaching them about GMO versus non-GMO. So it's really kind of like life skills and information and knowledge that is grouped into a workshop structure that I feel like is really preparing them and opening their minds to thinking about, what am I eating? Oh, let me look at the back of the package and see exactly, just, promoting health. And so I think that those things have been really impactful, just as far as seeing that they didn't have any information on that particular subject. And then they come in, they do the workshop, and they go home knowing more and talking to their parents and peers about it. So that's something that I've really been getting a lot of feedback, and we want to bring more workshops now, so we can really just, help our youth and give them the information. So that's one that has been impactful for
Great.
us.
And how do you fund that? How do you fund those workshops?
So really, the relationship, you see, I keep coming back to that, you guys.
Absolutely.
It's important. So I have some financial advisors like, I need your help. I need your help. I need you to come on board. We need to help our youth. They need to be educated. I know you guys are always talking to adults, but what about our youth? And so they were like, you know what? Yes, we have to start, really giving back and doing different things. So they volunteered their time to be the instructors and facilitators of the workshop for free. And so that's one way we were able to get our instructors. And then also the inclined donations, reaching out to Tiffany, who I always beg from. Well, let me not say that, but that's kind of what it is. She's like, Alesha, oh, you're calling again. Like, hey, we need materials for our workshop. Can you help us with, notebooks and some pencils? Yeah, no problem. Here's a gift card. So those type of things really have helped us in just kind of making them happen and creating the workshops for the youth.
Some the power of the 501c3. That little
Yes.
determination letter,
Yes,
is your friend.
It's my best friend.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Cedric, talk to us, because you got a lot going on.
Yeah, the most impactful, there's so many stories. But I think for us, probably the STEM camp that we did, I believe the summer 2018, with a group of students from the community in partnership with North Carolina A&T and a corporate sponsor. The reason why I believe that was so impactful is because a lot of times, young people in our communities don't get the same opportunities. And one of the people that I draw inspiration from, and Alesha may know, is Nipsey Hussle. And so having this idea, he said this line, he said, he knows he's a genius, speaking of a young man. He just can't explain it because they left him no platform to explain it. I'm paraphrasing. So pretty much, here's this young person in the community who has this gift, this genius, but they can't express it because they have no platform. We were able to create an opportunity that that bridged that gap, that was able to cut that cost down.